JSnip4 here with Realist News. Beforeitsnews.com has an interesting story I want to talk about. And the irony here, not because it's coming from them, this is a good alternative media site, but that it's happening right now, and all of a sudden it's now a viable option. When Ron Paul, when he was running for president, said the same thing. We've got to get rid of, dismantle the CIA. And man, did the mainstream media let him have it. Average person was like, yeah, you can't get rid of the CIA, No, that's, we got to have our intelligence agent, You couldn't argue with someone. You couldn't argue with someone that it was a good idea to get rid of it. I mean, you could try. Most people, oh, no, we got to have that, man, because they just don't know. They don't know the inner workings of the deep state. And for the deep state to function and function well, they must have absolute secrecy under the guise of intelligence agencies, the CIA. It reminds me of several years ago, there was a CIA agent. I remember it was on the news, and it was in Texas, I believe, and he was running. The law was chasing him, and it wasn't like speeding, but he got out of his car. The cop finally stopped him and ended up shooting him, killing him. And I thought to myself, did he pull a gun? Did he reach for something? The answer was no. He had some papers in his hand, something like that, like a folder full of papers. Or maybe that was what was found in the car. And I thought, wow, talk about shooting first and asking questions later when this happened. And I'm like, wow, that was interesting. And I thought to myself, my spider senses are telling me he was told to take this guy out. National security issue, take him out. Okay, took the guy out. CIA agent was not expecting that to happen because he just walked right out of the car, no big deal, boom, killed him. No one ever said what those papers were. What was he running from is my question. We'll never know. He may have had some exposés on some people, if you will. But Before It's News says Donald Trump must execute the nuclear option. There is no other way. And as I read this thing, I said, I'm sure he's talking about getting rid of some of the alphabet agencies. Sure enough, he names 3. And I thought, well, it's funny. Ron Paul said a long time ago, we've got to get rid of that thing. It's nothing but trouble. It doesn't do anything to help us. As you've seen lately, CIA sources said that Russian hackers give us the proof. Well, we can't. You're the CIA, man. I thought you were the best of the best. If you say you've got intelligence on something, show it. Oh, well, we can't. Yeah, we don't, because you don't have it. So all they have to do is make it up. Go hire a source like, Site Intelligence Group, SITE, that makes the garbage fake terrorist videos of fake head cuttings and fake Osama bin Laden nonsense. Just look that up on YouTube. Site Intelligence Group, fake, terror stuff. You'll see what I'm talking about. That's the source we get all of our intelligence from. That's where all the Al-Qaeda, ISIS stuff, that's where it all came from. We have no other source on the face of the earth. We go to Site Intelligence Group, ran by an Israeli lady named Rita Kratz, I think, Kratz, I think. Why? Because they need to say, well, our sources gave us this highly advanced intel. And we pay you guys good. The most well-funded intelligence agency on the face of the earth. So, yeah, what do you got? Fake beheading. A person dressed up as Osama bin Laden. Doesn't sound like him, doesn't look like him, doesn't talk like him. But we're going to roll with it that that's him. Because we need to do that. Okay? And it was always like when the Patriot Act was about to be renewed or something, some key legislation within the Patriot Act. We need to keep that going. Some spying legislation. Oh, Osama's back out. There he is. Got a threat to make. Oh, scare us. Okay. Congress make sure you pass that. And yeah, okay, good. Then he goes away. There's time to pass the law, keep it reenacted. Oh, there's Osama again. Come on, you couldn't make this crap up. The 3 pillars. So he says Trump has only one alternative if he is to deliver on his crucial campaign promises and really make America great again. The 3 pillars of the deep state must be knocked down. The mainstream media, that's 1. 2, the CIA must be dissolved. And 3, for sure, the Federal Reserve banking system, the Federal Reserve System itself, must be taken over by the U.S. Treasury, he says. State of the Nation, State of the Nation, was on the first alt-media news platform to describe Donald Trump as a wrecking ball. This internet moniker was chosen for serious deliberation as it became clear that the Obama nation needed to be completely destroyed if the American Republic was to be saved. In fact, the Donald made his way slowly but surely all the way to the Oval Office by wrecking everything in sight. This is his signature MO, and exactly what was needed throughout the most divisive and violent campaign season in U.S. history. Post-inauguration, it is now clear that the deep state will not, under any circumstances, allow Donald Trump to deliver on his many campaign promises. I mean, it's clear. Can we all agree right now? It is clear. I read again today, the intelligence agencies didn't want to share information with the president because it had to do with Russia, and he appears to be on Russia's side, so he felt like holding back was the right thing to do. He is the top dog. Could you imagine telling the owner of your company, the CEO and president, why didn't you give me this information? Why didn't you provide me this information? Well, because for your own good, we felt like you didn't want it. You shouldn't hear it. It's my company. I hired you. I pay your salary. I rely on you to tell me this thing. That's what I hired you for. Get the F out of here. Don't ever look back. You're fired. That's usually how that would go, which is why I agree here. You got to get rid of the CIA. Get rid of it. It does nothing good whatsoever. So again, it's clear that under any circumstances, deep state will not allow Trump to deliver on his many campaign promises, nor will the New World Order globalists permit him to be president of the United States, he says. Every day that goes by, it becomes evident that the purple revolution is running in the background full bore. 99% of the sedition and subversion associated with this soft coup is taking place completely under the radar, and yet the 1% that everyone does see and hear has gotten so ugly and intolerable that some folks now understand that the Titanic is about to hit the iceberg. Barring a Deus Ex Machina event, Trump is being set up as the Titanic. The current trajectory of the Trump administration is such that it may actually be sunk by the Ides of March. That's how fast and organized this soft coup really is, and only a very few are talking about it. That's the real problem here, a general lack of awareness due to so much mainstream media propaganda and prevarication. The mainstream media, CIA, Fed, triad must be terminated, he says. For every sober and sane patriot, it has become obvious that the destructive forces within the mainstream media, CIA, Fed, triad must be dealt with decisively and firmly. There can be no sovereign American republic as long as the three seditious entities retain their power and influence over the affairs of our nation. Case closed. At the risk of sounding redundant, as long as the mainstream media, CIA, and Fed seditiously operate as they have for many decades, this once constitutional republic is anything but. To call the United States of America a grotesque misrepresentation of the Founding Fathers' original intentions would be a gross understatement. These three entities are the very pillars which hold up the temple of the deep state. While there are many other integral components, such as the entire military-industrial complex, these three malevolent institutions form the backbone which will allow the beast, aka deep state, to make so much mischief both here and abroad. This triad also forms the skeleton of the current purple revolution being waged by the Soros-funded globalists, the Democratic Party, and the sultans of Silicon Valley. In other words, the far left, liberal left, if you will. In view of this rapidly devolving predicament, there is now only one alternative for President Trump to salvage his presidency. Before his administration is taken down one cabinet secretary at a time, he must take executive action similar to those that even President John F. Kennedy took against the Fed and was prepared to take in the early 1960s against the CIA. And that was 55 years ago. when the CIA had not even perfected its soft coup strategies or violent revolution tactics. Ergo, the CIA must be dissolved post haste. A quote from JFK apparently was, I want to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. 55 years ago, approximately, JFK. He also knew about the deep state. He warned us about these secret societies. Remember his speech? JFK, man. He knew. Likewise, if President Trump is really to move forward, the mainstream media must be held accountable for the nonstop treason and sedition that it has been proven to be guilty of. The massive ongoing cover-up of the false flag 9/11 terror attacks alone is enough to take them down for good. So is the highly coordinated and continuing cover-up of the assassination of President Kennedy. Therefore, the mainstream media must be shut down and reconstituted over or under new corporate charters with appropriate regulation, i.e., prohibited from committing treason and sedition on a regular basis. 9/11 verdict. Mainstream media guilty of the biggest cover-up in U.S. history. Thirdly, the Federal Reserve System has repeatedly demonstrated that it functions as an international banking crime syndicate accountable to no one in the U.S. federal government. The volumes of evidence, which are now available in the public domain, does indicate that the Fed answers to foreign powers, international financiers, and wealthy elites who do not have the best interest of the American people anywhere on their priority list. The Federal Reserve Bank is such an incorrigible criminal banking entity that it must be taken over by the U.S. Treasury with all deliberate speed. The Federal Reserve, what is it? The deep state's central bank. Where is this all going? What can be done? There is a palpable acceleration of transparently subversive plots coming out of the deep state. As a matter of historical fact, the American people have never witnessed so much soft power projected and insurrection instigated by a political party against a sitting president. Alarmingly, the Purple Revolution is getting more real by the day as it plays out in living color and during prime time. The deep state, he says, fired NSA General Michael Flynn. In light of the most recent developments whereby deep state fired NSA General Michael Flynn, Trump has shown that things are truly out of control. Senior counselor to the president Stephen Bannon and counselor to the president Kellyanne Conway are next on the list, as is Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Such executive branch attrition and unwarranted attacks have never occurred in U.S. presidential history so close to Inauguration Day. If ever there was a time for the American people to respond to a very real revolution, a purple revolution, being surreptitiously carried out, it is now. But how can the body politic of these United States of America most effectively do this? He says, well, very simple. Both individually and collectively, the true patriots across the land must resolve themselves to first, one, take back their power from those who have systematically stolen it. Secondly, stand firmly in their own truth and newfound power. And thirdly, speak that infallible truth to power like never before. In this instance, speaking is used to mean writing, videotaping, tweeting, Facebooking, blogging, Instagramming, YouTubing, and yes, speak truth to power whenever and wherever necessary. And in conclusion, he says, the vast majority of those elected representatives who occupy seats in the U.S. Congress are dangerous career criminals, as well as, and by the way, you ever hear that little thing floating around, I can't think of how it was titled, but it was something like, where are 400 and something convicted criminals, yada, 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 all in one spot, and you're thinking, I don't know, and then it goes to show you, the House of Representatives or Congress or something, and it goes to list all of these individuals who were caught, whether before being in politics or while being in politics, etc., and just goes down the line of they've been charged for that, this one got nailed for that. So this is it. U.S. The vast majority of these elected representatives who occupy seats in the U.S. Congress are dangerous career criminals. The ones you've been seeing all these years, you know, the John McCains, the Harry Reids, Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, and you know, several others, but that's like the cool club, according to themselves. They're the cool club. Everyone else, you know, looks up to them. But the truth is, even people you don't hear that often are in the same boat. Career criminal politicians, as well as outright traitors to the Constitution and Bill of Rights. President Trump has access to enough evidence to imprison most of them for life. The president's real trump card, if you will, however, he says, is Pizzagate. Deep state only exists in its current demonic incarnation through the sheer power of blackmail and bribery, coercion and intimidation. Because so many in Congress, the 17 intelligence agencies, the super secret services, as well as throughout the leadership of corporate America, have been seriously compromised from their involvement with either Pizzagate or the global Pedogate. Virtually every major power player is totally owned by the company, if you will, also known as the CIA. And I've said this for a long time. You wonder why all these politicians, how do they keep voting like this? Why are they voting? You know, they got to know better. It's not just for the money. Why is the dumbest thing? Why would they do that? Because they got sent a little thing in the mail, and it had pictures or had a copy of something they did or said, or P.S. We need you to vote yes tomorrow night. Vote. Oh boy, they know about that. Oh man, how the hell did they know about that? Doesn't matter. As long as I vote yes, they're not going to expose me. If I get exposed, I'll lose everything. I'll go to prison. Oh my God, I can't. Oh God, how do they know that? Oh my God, how do they know that about? God, these guys really are powerful. Oh my goodness, I didn't know they could figure it. Right? Now he's a slave to them. He or she is a slave to them. Anything you really need to get past, that's really super important. You know, Obamacare will expose just the right number of you to swing it to where it'll pass. And other legislation that they need very badly. Anyways, given this worsening state of affairs, the American people are being challenged as never before to take back their country. Hence, either the U.S. citizenry uses it, their civil power, or they will lose it for a very long time. Either the governed collectively withdraw their consent from those organs within the federal government which have proven to be treasonous and unworthy of existence, or the people will be irreversibly crushed by them. Lastly, it must be acknowledged by all concerned citizens that each administration prior to the present one has profoundly violated the public trust and irrevocably broken the social contract. In doing so, they have rent asunder the sacred covenant which ought to exist between the government and the governed. With so many highly consequential betrayals of the American people over the past century, there can only be one outcome. Let's get busy. And that's what I'm doing. I do these videos every day to share information that's very useful to people every day. Expose these people, retweet it, redo whatever the hell, you know what I mean? And like I said a few times, I'll say it again because it's relevant. When I first started waking up, I began barely in 2005, 2006, I'd see these 9/11 videos off to the side and trending and all this stuff on Google Video, back when Google Video was around, that tried to compete with YouTube, which couldn't, so they bought YouTube. But it was there, and they'd have like the trending videos, most watched videos, you know. And I would, as I'm like researching other things, I keep seeing this stuff, 9/11, Loose Change 2, or Final Cut, and all this crap. I'm like, okay, what is this crap about 9/11? Like, I had no idea. And why are they trending at the top of every freaking category? Matter of fact, this video is on every category. Wow, that many people are watching it. Well, I don't want to be left out. This must be important, so I watched it. The first one, Loose Change. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I tried to do as much research as I could. And I would find things that they said, and sure enough, that was true, and that was true. And that, whoa, I didn't know that. I didn't hear about that. They were put on a plane and flown out. There was 5 dancing Israelis that were put on a plane and flown out. No one heard, when no one else was allowed to leave the country. Who are these people? What, right? But you'd go and comment on these videos, and even on YouTube, and you're outnumbered, maybe 8 to 2, 10 to 1. You conspiracy theorist, you treasonous, we should leave the country, you're despicable. And you go back to those videos now, because they're still online, and there's like nobody arguing now. It is accepted as common knowledge now. So what's the old saying that I say? The truth goes through 3 phases. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it becomes common knowledge. And I don't know what to tell you to search for. If you just want to see something very interesting about 9/11 and a specific taxi driver, I'm going to just see what if taxi driver Pentagon 9/11 9/11. I'm going to search for that and see if it's here. It is. Boom. Found it first try. Fantastic. The title of the video: Cab driver involved in 9/11 Pentagon attack admits it was planned. Very interesting. 15-minute video. I watched it. And he just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and had to make a photo op when it was going down. And he said, I remember him saying on video, look, man, this is above me. This is for them rich people and that stuff. That ain't for me. I don't want to do with it. That's for these people. That's who's doing this. That's he didn't really want to talk. You can tell he did not want to talk. Very interesting. They show his car, how did this, the plane came down and hit these freaking lights, the street lights, and it slammed down in the front of his car. But it only destroyed his glass. The hood is completely unscathed. The top of the car, fine. It just happened to hit the hood. Airplane, 400, 500 mile an hour, wing hits a light pole, knocking it down. Only happens to hit your windshield and break your windshield. Think about that. If a light pole is hit at 400, 500 mile an hour, and it hits anything, let's say it hits a window perfectly, right in the center of the windshield, the force of that is going to cause severe damage to the other parts of the car. Just want to throw it out there. If you want to watch the video, it's called Cab Driver Involved in 9/11 Pentagon Attack Admits It Was Planned. Very interesting. 500,000 views 5 years ago. Right under it, 9/11 Pentagon Attack, Strange Case of the Taxi Cab and Light Pole Number 1, 315,000 views 4 years ago. Anyways, that's what I started focusing on once I started waking up, because I realized 9/11 is a part of this, and there's lies, and then there's the FEMA guy who went in there to look at the rubble, take pictures and video, noticed that there were vaults that were open, completely cleaned out. Why would these things be cleaned out? No one would know a building's going to fall the day before or get attacked, so the content should be in the vault, but they're not in the vault, which means, oh my God, this was some kind of inside job, and they cleaned the vaults out before. Oh my goodness, right? And the guy fled. Kurt Sonnenfeld, was that his name? Kurt Sonnenfeld? Fled the country, political asylum. He was not a conspiracy theorist. He had nothing against the government. He was one of like 3 FEMA people allowed on site. And when he was done filming that day, I'm out. I'm leaving. That's an interesting story. I got to go. I'm sure you do too. Take care.